Steve mentioned that we have grandchildren. It's true. I don't care how many Super Bowl rings you got. I don't care how many bucks you made or how many Coach of the Year trophies. When you get to them, they're all disappointing. Because you get there and you say, well, is this it? Is that all there is to it? There's one highly touted event in adult life that's not disappointing. And that's when they put your baby's baby in your arms. 7 times we've had the privilege, my Carolyn and I, of holding our baby's baby. And the education goes on and on and on from the grandchildren. So I'm going to start with the grandchildren wisdom for you this morning. And you can take it or leave it, but when you have your grandchildren, you'll understand a little bit better. But that's when we maybe just begin to learn. But it is the only highly touted event in adult life that's not overrated. So I'm holding our beautiful granddaughter one day, rocking her. When I was with ESPN, I had time in the off-season to actually spend with the grandchildren. So I relearned the whole diaper thing. We took walks around the pond. I put her down for naps. She's like 3 or 4 years old. And I'm rocking her, and I'm just enjoying it so much and relishing. She's so beautiful and so smart. And I said, sweetheart, the grandchildren all call me Bo or Bowie because that's what the first grandchild names you. That's what Alex, who's now 22. God, that's hard to believe. But anyhow, she says, okay. So I'm rocking her, and I said, I just love you so much. There's so many things I wish I could tell you. She said, well, some things I wish I could tell you, Bowie. I said, well, you can tell me anything. Go ahead, sweetheart. She said, your breath is terrible. So I spend my life now, and seriously, anytime I see her, I got my stuff to get my breath fixed, so I don't want to offend her. But now, overnight, she's 5'9". When she runs up to hug me, her shoulder hits me in the chin because she's 5'9". She's 17 years old. How did that happen? Life just flies. So enjoy the fact that you have a standard in your unit for integrity, to service for others before self, and live out your values, because everybody's going to be watching, and especially your family. And I feel such an obligation to our grandchildren, for the world we're going to hand over to them. And all I can see right now is a lot of the flaws, but I didn't come here to talk to you about the flaws this morning, because you're a big part of the answer to the flaws. What we have to do is to make the next generations understand. We have to find out. We have to be the mature ones and communicate, because they are the ones that are trying to figure out what's going on. Another example. Our son and his wife have 5 redheaded boys. Imagine walking into that house. They all see me as a large boy. So Brett, when he was about 6, he already had 2 teenage brothers. So I apologize, ladies, for some of this language, but I said he had 2 teenage brothers. So I walk in the door, he says, hey, Bo, get your ass upstairs, let's play video games. I said, what'd you say to me? Don't you ever speak like that. We don't use profanity. I know your parents are raising you better than that. You say please and thank you. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Do you understand me? No 4-letter words. He said, yes, sir. I said, all right, let's try that again. He said, okay, get your ass upstairs, please. See, that's like some of you guys, when you think you're responding well to an order, and the CO looks at you funny, or the head coach. Understand what they're saying. It's our job as the mature ones to make sure that the youngsters are getting the right messages from us. And there are a lot of messages that they're getting from us these days that are not accurate, and they're not helpful, and they're not the things we want them to learn. And we must change that. And it starts in an individual heart that is really willing to give to a team effort. You want to know who's going to win the Super Bowl? I'll tell you who's going to win it. A bunch of guys with some great leaders, a couple of great leaders, a special coach, maybe that's really smart, but mostly it's a bunch of guys that refuse to let each other down. That's who wins the game in my sport. You see, football is still the greatest team sport ever devised. It is the only sport, just a sport. What you do is not just a sport, and we know that because yours is identical to mine. Football is still the only sport in which every player needs every teammate on every play just to survive. 10 guys do a great job, you got no play. Left tackle gets beat, quarterback gets drilled. 11 guys have to function as a unit and have to function when we're dying or we think we're dying. Listen carefully. Now this is the law of the jungle. As old and as true as the sky. The wolf that shall keep it may prosper, and the wolf that shall break it must die. As the creeper girdles the tree trunk, the law runneth forward and back. The strength of the pack is the wolf. The strength of the wolf is the pack. Rudyard Kipling understood the jungle. Let us not kid ourselves for an instant. We're living in the jungle. This happens to be Pearl Harbor Day. I was born roughly 11 months after Pearl Harbor. My first memory of my father, he looked just like you. He was in uniform. He was a hand-to-hand combat instructor at Fort Benning, Georgia, sending troops over to fight in the Pacific and to fight the Nazis. Many years later, we experienced the Twin Tower tragedy. The loss of life was similar in both those instances. One ignited a world war, the other ignited something that we're still experiencing that I'm not sure anybody quite understands, but you've been fighting it every day since September the 11th. How many of you remember where you were September the 11th, 2001? How many of you remember where you were September 13th, 2001? A few. Usually there's just one or two, but you're in a different category because you have a special assignment, I feel sure. Well, so did I. ESPN had wisely decided not to put us on airplanes on that Thursday, September 13th, 2011. So they had changed our assignments so that we could drive to the next game that we were supposed to broadcast, if indeed the games were going to be played. The NCAA was meeting to decide whether or not to play the football games at all. And I was driving from our home in North Carolina to Birmingham to broadcast the University of Alabama versus the University of Southern Mississippi, if indeed the games would be played. So I stopped at the filling station in Ocala, Alabama. Now everybody's shook up. Everybody, we don't even know what this is. This just happened to us, or who it is or how it happened. So we're all trying to make some sense of it. And most of us are not doing very well. So I was in an agitated state. I was in a game-like state. I was in a Super Bowl mindset, just wishing that I could do something or say something, and hoping I could get on the air to try to encourage the people of the United States of America, like you do every day by every action you take on our behalf. God bless you for that. The guy at the station recognized me because I had coached in the state of Alabama for a good while. He said, "Hey, Coach, we're going to play these games?" I said, "I don't know. But I'll tell you this, I was told to bring this along with me. And if this thing rings while I'm in your station, you may be the first fan in America to find out if we're going to play the games. Because I'm going to be told one way or the other." But sure enough, about 3 minutes later, my phone rings, and I'm told, "Go home, we're not playing." Good decision. Why put 70,000 people here, there, and yonder all over America when we don't even know who the enemy is yet? So I walk back up, and I find the little guy that's running the filling station. I said, "Hey, I got the phone call. We're not playing." I'll never forget his response. It blew me away. I'm not easily surprised by human behavior, needless to say, but this shocked me. His eyes bulged, his jugular stood out. He leaned forward and he said, "Well, let me tell you something, Coach. Come Friday night, in Ocala, Alabama, we're going to play football, because it means a lot to us." I felt like he slapped me in the mouth. I go get in my car and drive home. I recall some of my spiritual training at Candler School of Theology at Emory University. I went there for 1 year when I was playing for the Packers, but we won the Super Bowl while I was a theology student. So at the end of 1 year, I knew everything there was to know about God, so I quit. That's how brilliant I was at age 24. I should have stayed. I was stupid. But anyhow, I have a little bit of spiritual thing, just enough to be dangerous. So I said, dear God, help me with this. I don't get it. Why? Who cares if we play football? Our nation is at risk. Why does football mean so? Why does it mean a lot in Ocala, Alabama? For God's sake. And it came to me. Why does it mean a lot in Valdosta, Georgia? Why does it mean a lot in Pueblo, Colorado? Why does it mean a lot in Kansas City, Missouri? Why does it mean a lot in Coronado, California? Because Friday nights in America is when we huddle. We're supposed to huddle at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, but we don't, do we? We split up. The most segregated hour of the week, 11 o'clock Sunday morning. Friday night, I'm going to sit there with you. If your kid scores a touchdown, what do? We're on the same team. What do? We hug. I don't stop and say, excuse me, you're the wrong color. Or you come from the wrong country. Or you got the wrong religion. No, we just hug. That's our kids out there playing. It's our country. It's Friday night. We're in the huddle. You can't be a racist and step in the huddle anymore. Ever. You can't be a sexist and step in the huddle. According to the American High School Athletic Association report that I read, over 1 million children every Friday. I know football's got terrible problems, and I'm one of them. I mean, we're all brain damaged, okay, some worse than others. But here's what happens Friday nights. Over 1 million American teenagers play the sport of football, and 2,000 of them are female. That blew me away, too. What are the parents doing during that time? We sit in the stands together. We're together. And now that I've retired from coaching at ESPN, I actually have had the privilege of watching our grandsons as captains of their high school football team and sitting there swelling with pride as they embrace people who look entirely different from them, who come from a different kind of culture, who listen to a different kind of music, who go to a different kind of church. Those guys love each other. And that's what we found in the National Football League, where my life was transformed. Did y'all finish that over there? Somebody's drinking up here in front. I was finishing Georgia Tech. I was a 212-pound offensive center. Married to the girl of my dreams. I had met this beautiful creature in the 4th grade. By the 6th grade, I announced that I was going to marry Carolyn Newton, the most beautiful girl in the world and the smartest kid in College Park, Georgia. My father said, that is the best idea you've ever had. Is Carolyn aware of your plans? I said, no, she won't speak to me. She's taller than me. She was 5'2" and I was not. So I couldn't get, for 6 years I followed her around trying to get a date. And finally when we were seniors, I am incredibly persistent. I got a lot of flaws, but one of my strengths is I am persistent. And next week, Carolyn Newton and I will celebrate our 57th wedding anniversary. Best thing by far that has ever happened to me. Well, my dad was a Georgia Bulldog, so I was supposed to go to Athens, but I got out a map and I discovered that Athens was not the closest campus to Agnes Scott College, a girls' school in Decatur, Georgia. Guess who was going to be at Agnes Scott College? So I ended up at Georgia Tech, which is the closest campus to Agnes Scott College. So I ended up playing at Georgia Tech. I'm a 212-pound offensive center, which that was a joke even then. And my phone rings one morning early. It's my brother-in-law. I assumed he was messing with me. He said, "Hello, Green Bay Packers." I hung up on him. I didn't know the NFL was holding a draft. I was so clueless. They had a draft, and I did not even know it existed, much less I had never gotten a letter from the Green Bay Packers. And they only have 7 rounds today. All you guys know that. Some of you ladies who follow. They had 20 rounds in those days, and I was the 20th selection of the Green Bay Packers. The great Vince Lombardi had turned to his personnel man, Pat Pepper, and said, "Pepper, it's 2 in the morning, I'm exhausted, I'm going to bed, we've drafted 19 players, I want you to do something humorous for the 20th selection." They did. I report to the Green Bay Packers that being the last draft choice was not my biggest problem. I was used to a Southern gentleman, my coach, Bobby Dodd, another legendary coach. I had the privilege of playing for many of the greatest football coaches of all time, and just too many to list. At a position I did not want to play, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I ended up being the last draft choice at a position, offensive center, where I had the privilege every day of blocking against a guy named Ray Nitschke. Ray Nitschke was a future Hall of Famer who broke my face mask, broke my nose, and knocked me out. That was the first day. That was not my biggest problem. Coach Bobby Dodd, the Southern gentleman, was replaced by a guy named Vince Lombardi. Your religion, your family, the Green Bay Packers. That's all you'll think of. Those will be your priorities, and they'll be in that order. See, Coach Lombardi was not Southern. I didn't like him. He was a Yankee. He was a Catholic. He was an Italian. Of course, where I grew up with Jim Crow racism and theological hatred, we didn't like much of anybody. So I started criticizing him. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant males, the most non-judgmental people in the world. We are the most judgmental group of people that ever lived in the history of the world. And I'd already decided there ain't no way Lombardi could be a Christian. So I go to Bart Starr, who was one of the few veterans that would speak to rookies, and I said, "Well, I'm worried about Coach Lombardi. He uses profanity and he screams a lot. And he's got all this stuff about priorities. He couldn't possibly be a Christian." And Bart said, "Wait a minute, don't be judgmental." It was my first great lesson from the great Bart Starr, who adopted me like his little brother for reasons I'll never understand. He said, "Bill, don't get into that judgmental stuff. It's not your job to decide whether somebody else is a Christian or not." And by the way, Coach Lombardi, though he's imperfect, he goes to Mass every morning. So he's a Catholic. You don't know anything about Catholics. You need to learn. You need to understand. You need to deal with other people that are different from you. Coach Lombardi goes to Mass every single morning. And when you've been working for this man about 3 weeks, you're going to realize this man needs to go to church every morning. That was not my biggest problem. Nietzsche was not my biggest problem. My biggest problem, I'd never been in a huddle with an African-American person in my life. Vince Lombardi's greatest attribute, by far, and he doesn't get credit for this. And by the way, I was wrong about him. He was a great man and a great coach. But I couldn't see it because of my prejudice and my limited perspective. My biggest problem is that I didn't know how to get along with people that were very different from me. So I figured, because we had more African-American players than anybody in the league, and we were being called the greatest football team of all time, other teams had quotas. They would only have 1 or 2 African-American players or none, and they bragged about it. And guess what? We beat their brains out every Sunday. And I started thinking, are they going to figure this out or what? You know who we had? Willie Wood, Herb Adderley, Lionel Aldridge, Willie Davis, Marv Fleming, David Robinson, many of whom are in the Hall of Fame. The most intimidating of all is the great Willie Davis. Grambling State University, working on his master's degree in business, while being the captain of what was being called the greatest football team of all time at that moment. So I figured those guys are going to hear my Southern accent and get rid of it. So I'm walking out of the dorm one night, and a voice comes out in the darkness from behind me. Bill? I thought it was God. I just sat down and did that. It was Willie Davis. He said, I'd like to speak to you. And I thought, oh no, he's going to tell me to get lost. Okay. He said, Bill, I've been watching you practice. I like your effort. You got a chance to make that team, and I'm going to help you. I said, you're going to help me? He said, yeah. He said, look at Lombardi's playoff record. By the way, Vince Lombardi's playoff record, which is the best of all time, percentage-wise, was 9-1. And that one playoff game, that championship game that they lost, was to the Eagles in Philadelphia. Willie said, I was a young player and I didn't play my best that day. And I walked off that field and I looked out there and I saw that I had left regret on the field. And I made up my mind in that instant, this will never happen to Willie Davis again. Bill, you come on our practice field. You leave no regrets on the field, ever. And you just might make our team. You see, there are two pains in life, the pain of discipline, the pain of regret. You choose. The pain of discipline is usually brief. It means you have to work hard. It means you have to endure a training camp. It means you have to go through a session of advanced training of some sort, which everybody in this room has done. But it's usually brief, that discipline that forces us to suck it up and to find the very best of ourselves. But the regret, if you don't choose wisely, if you don't give your best, if you tell that little white lie, just a little bit of a lie, if you just cheat a little bit and let your brother and sister down just a little bit, that regret lasts the rest of your life. Two pains in life, the pain of discipline, the pain of regret. You choose. Youthfulness are our examples of great discipline. I sat in that simulator yesterday and I was stunned. I don't know what I expected last year. It was an incredible lesson for this old warrior. And I would love to have sat by your side and watch you act for space. It's incredible. So now I'm going to leave here being envious of every one of you. You have the privilege of being associated with this aspect of our service. Most of us don't understand just how priceless you are and how much you mean to the life that we're privileged to live. But I get it now. I'm 77 years old. Shouldn't have taken me this long. That's traditional with me. It just takes me a long time to pick things up. You know, I was an offensive lineman. My job was to hike the ball and do run over slowly. So what did the great man do for the terrified white kid from College Park, Georgia? The great man, Willie Davis, not only helped me to play in the National Football League for 10 years, but that was the least that he did. He transformed my life with an unexpected, undeserved, unrewarded act of kindness. That's what great leaders do in the crunch. And so when I was trying my best to block Ray Nitschke, I decided, after he smashed my face mask and my nose, I had to decide, do I want to hit him again? I decided I would because I did not want to call my girl and say, they're going to cut me, they're sending me home. I could not stand that thought. I got a lot of flaws, but if I'm trying to make your team, I will give you my heart. So I decided I'm going to hit Ray Nitschke again. And I'm going to hit him again. And I'm going to hit him again as many times as I have to. I don't care how bad he beats me up. And he did, he certainly did. But I'm going to hit him and fight him fair and square until I can play football like Ray Nitschke. Now, that never happened. But here's what did happen. Because I was going against the best, and later I got to go against all the best of the rest that played during those eras, names that you would recognize. What did happen? It took about 5 years. I became the best football player that Bill Kirk could do. And it took great coaching. It took great patience by Coach Lombardi and others to work with me, because I was not a quick learner. Things didn't come easily to me. I was always the smallest lineman. I found out if you knew a few tricks and if you could move a little quicker, if you had the advantage of the snap count, you could play in the National Football League. And maybe you could play at the highest level with the best guy. See, I didn't even want to be a center. When our assistant coach, Jesse Shaddix, When I was 12 years old, he takes us over to give us, there were only 11 new guys on my football team. He starts assigning positions, and naturally he puts the best athletes at the best spots. So Tommy got to be the quarterback because he had the best arm. And he places everybody else in all the good positions until finally there's only one position left. It's the one that nobody wanted to play. And one short, fat, lazy, I wanted to pitch for the Yankees, that's all I wanted. I was a future New York Yankee. I'm standing over there picking my nose. I didn't care what he did to me. Then he says this brilliant thing, well, there's only one position left. He said, well, Bill, I guess you're going to be the center. I said to myself, no kidding, Shadows. Actually, I said something else, and you guys know what it was, but I'm not going to say that. So I trudged over to the center position. He said another brilliant thing. Well, Bill, I guess you're going to have to learn to hike that ball. No kidding, Shadow. Let's think about this transaction. This is a very complex transaction we're contemplating here. You want me to take this very hard, 13 pounds per square inch, oblate spheroid, put it on the ground, and pull it up as hard as I can. Where? Right there? You kidding me? I don't want to doubt it. And Tommy Fields is going to put his hands where? I don't want his hands there on me. And what if he moves his hands early, Coach? What then? Good gosh. Worst thing that could have happened to short, fat, lazy Bill Curry. So I made the decision that most lazy, fat, white kids decide to do. I'm going to quit. It was the problem with quitting. Everybody in this room will understand when I tell you what my problem was. My problem was that there was this guy named Major W. Curry who lived at my house. He was my father. You didn't quit anything. You didn't quit. You never quit anything. So that avenue was cut off. I was stuck. Worst thing that could have happened to little lazy Bill Curry, right? Wrong. A few years later at Georgia Tech, I learned to hike that ball to Billy Lockridge, a runner-up for the Heisman, the Staubach. At the end of my career in the Senior Bowl, I learned to hike that ball to Joe Willie Namath. A few months later, I learned to hike that ball to Roger Staubach, and John Hewitt, and Bob Timberlake, and Freddie Morton. And the week after that, I learned to hike that ball to Bob Stock, and Zeke Metcalfe. 3 years later, I learned to hike that ball to John Unitas and Earl Moore. And on various teams and at various times, I learned to hike that ball to Bob Greasy, Dan Castellini, James Harris, Darryl Lamonica, Lynn Dawson, Francis Tucker. That which appeared to be the worst possible job for short, fat, lazy Bill Curry is the only position in all of sport that would have allowed me to have a career. So things are not always what they seem. When you talk about integrity, putting others before self, we're talking about taking the situation you inherit, whether you like it or not, fighting and scrapping and doing it so well that you might just have a chance to earn a career and move into other areas that are rewarding for all humanity. I had the privilege of not only conveying the football, but protecting the greatest leaders in the history of our sport up until that time, only because of the existence of that position of offensive center. Oh, and I should tell you, in the 20 years that I snapped the ball every day, our footballs were always properly inflated. That's the one way. See, what we're really talking about here is there are 5 basic values that all human beings agree upon. This is what makes the team thing work. This is what makes your organization work. 5 basic values. The Institute for Global Ethics has studied worldwide, literally gone into every culture and taught seminars and actually done surveys to find out what everybody believes. So every social, economic, political, religious system all shares the belief in these 5 values. The best that's been said is a guy named Rushworth Kidder, who founded the Institute for Global Ethics. He told me one day, he said, the best way to understand this, Bill, this is what every mama wants for her baby. Honesty, fairness, respect, responsibility, compassion. Every great leader that I've ever known, every great leader that I've ever known, however imperfect, whether it was a football coach or whether it was a political leader, or whether it was a union leader or whatever it was, all shared a very powerful combination of this elixir, this mixture: fairness, honesty, respect, responsibility, and compassion. Because you know what happens when you practice those five? When those five values become virtues, when you practice them daily, then your values become your virtues because they characterize your behavior. What happens then is this thing, this strange thing that we all crave, and it's called trust. You have trust in this room. I sat in that simulator yesterday, and I understood another dimension of trust. Somebody fixed all this stuff. Somebody created this stuff so that we would know how to do what we're supposed to do when it really counts. Somebody loved me when I was unloved, when I was short, fat, lazy. Couldn't help anybody win a game. Somebody helped me learn to work and to give, and then to give, and then to give. And it wasn't all about giving. It was all about giving. That's what really matters. That's what really matters to all of us. And your discipline and your regret you choose. Each of us will come to moments of truth. You're likely to come to one today, and I don't know how you will make your decision. And I don't know when your moment of truth will come, when you have to make the next decision like this. But there's something that burns deep inside your soul. There's a Latin word for it that's already been mentioned here today. In Baylor School in Chattanooga, Tennessee, as you leave the premises, etched in stones, 12 letters, 5 syllables, 1 word, magnanimitas. Steve Nestor jumped on it when he heard it. It meant something to him. And I'm eternally grateful that it resonated, because it certainly did to me. But I didn't know what it meant, so I went back up the hill, and I said, what's this magnan, whatever? I wasn't a very good Latin student. They said, that means greatness of spirit. In the last communication that Dr. Baylor, way back in the early 20th century, as his last essay to his students was this: if I were to give you just one word with which to monitor your life and to guide your life, it would be from the Latin. It would be magnanimitas, meaning greatness of spirit. You may become a wonderful theologian or a philanthropist or a teacher or a coach or a mom, dad. You may be wonderful at all those things, but you'll never be the person that your Creator made you to be until you locate your greatness of spirit, your magnanimitas. Develop it, and then give it to a cause greater than yourself. You'll never be the creation that you were meant to be until you locate your greatness in spirit. Develop it and give it to a cause greater than yourself. Now, I'm a youth worker. I'm the oldest person in this room, so you're my youth today. So cooperate with me, please, and take a look at your hands. I know it feels stupid, but just look at it. Just look at the little lines and the striations. And for you linemen, you can use left or right hand. You don't have to make a decision. Understand this. I know you know this scientifically, but I'm going to remind you. There are a lot of brilliant people in this room, a lot smarter than I am. But if we were to do fingerprints of the roughly 7 billion people on Earth today, there wouldn't be another set like the one you're looking at. There's nobody like you. There's never been anybody like you. There's never going to be anybody like you. You're unique and you're beautiful. And your magnanimitas is desperately needed, along with mine and all the rest of it, to make this the best possible society, the best possible unit, the best possible world, the best possible team that we can create together. And I don't know what your moment of truth is going to feel like when you come to it, but I'll tell you how mine feels. We got 1:14 on the clock. We got 1 timeout. It's 105 degrees. I'm playing in my 23rd football game in a row. I have not missed a play. We're fighting to win the world title. I've lost 12 pounds. I've just broken my nose again. I've just broken my ankle again. And I don't want I don't want a new Super Bowl ring. I don't want a new contract. I don't want anything. I don't want to protect Johnny Unitas. I want the same thing I wanted when I was 12 years old. I want to quit. I want to go suck on the oxygen. So if all that great stuff you read about in the paper is not going to make us go when the chips are down, what does? Let me tell you. Because I'm already thinking now. See, in my business, you don't have to leave the field to quit. You don't have to be carried off on a stretcher. All you got to do is turn your shoulders ever so slightly. Let Joe Green run back there and do what he does for 40 hours. We could all go home. Nobody would know, right? Wrong. You see, there's this Magnificat, this little flame that never flickers. There's this little voice that says to you, don't you dare quit. You're not quit. That's not what you learn growing up. You suck it up. You bend your knees. You keep your head up. You move your feet. I don't think I'm that hurt. And then I look at the poor son of a gun next to me, and I know, because we've been through this so many times together, I know what he's going to do. And I cannot let him down. It doesn't matter what color his skin is. It doesn't matter where he comes from. It doesn't matter what his religion is. That's not who he made. So at the end of that drive, that lasts for an eternity, by the way, whether we win or lose, usually you win if you have that sense in that heart, that hunger. Everybody matters. So at the end of that day, we can look each other in the eye. We can know in this way we're the best we can be. That's what God demands of us. That's what a creator demands of us. Whatever you call your creator, he wants the best of you from every day, all day, every day. When you give them, when you reach across the prejudices and the political differentiation and the foolishness that we create in our society, it makes such a difference. I'm going to close with this. I want everybody to reach and join hands with the person next to you. This works a lot better if you're sitting next to somebody that you don't particularly like. Wow, we're reaching across the aisle. We ought to take a picture of that. Send it you know where. Here's a fact, and I didn't come up with it, but this is the truth, because I've participated on so many great teams and in so many different dimensions. When we reach across our differences and we really do join hands and heart, our capacity to do our job and to be great does not increase arithmetically. It does not increase geometrically. It increases exponentially, and it happens in an instant. And when that happens, there is the potential in this room to change the world. My spirit, God bless you. Thank you.